one to tell me if the music is too loud, or if you can't hear it, or if it makes you want to shoot yourself in the head. Because none of those are ideal situations, but I thought I would try something that kind of goes along with what I normally do on videos. So yeah. So what I'm doing right now is I am processing a bunch of transmog stuff that I bought, and I guess I'll show you how this works. So there's this really great add-on called Auctionator. I love it very much because one of the things it does, I think it's Auctionator that does this, is it has this collection shop thing. If it's not Auctionator and I'm stupid, then let me know and I'll make a video about what it really should be. But you go to collection shop and you tell it to scan. You can only scan like every 15 minutes, but you choose something and it'll scan it. And one thing it does is transmogs. And so I scanned an hour ago, so I'm not going to scan again because it takes like 5 to 15 minutes to do it. So anyway, you choose what stuff you want to see, which slots, what rarities, and then you can go and choose. Then you can go and choose stuff you haven't collected, because the rest of this stuff I don't care about. And then you can just shop, and it will go through everything and filter it, and then it'll show you what sort of stuff you have here. And so it's almost done, but this is great. Again, I believe it's Auctionator that does this, and this is what happens when you're running like 150 add-ons, is it's hard to remember which one does what. And I can't be bothered to turn them off and find out. So if it's not Auctionator that does this, just tell me. But then it's like, oh, here's all the cheap ones that I don't have, because it's only the not collected appearances. Can you imagine how much time this saves? And it goes all the way up to the really stupidly expensive ones that, yeah, I know what these are. Anyone who doesn't know what these are back from, I think Burning Crusade had them, but I don't think Lich King had them. Vanilla and Burning Crusade, and these were green transmoggable appearances that came on characters that you first created. I was actually able to sell one of these back in the day, before transmog was a thing in Lich King, and make a stupid amount of gold for doing that. But anyway, yeah, that's what. Oh, look at those things. Those are cool. But anyway, so that's what it does, and it also does it. Where's the button? It does it with mounts. Here's all the mounts that I don't have that are on the auction house, and this is the cheapest version of each one. And I'm not about to pay that much gold for any of those. Or it's got pets. Same thing. It'll go through them, and here's the pets I don't have. And so you can see if some of them are really cheap. And toys. Not very many toys I don't have, but I'm not about to, this is really cool, but I would just go camp and farm this instead of paying 120,000 gold. It comes down to what's worth my time to do. I would rather camp something while I watch Netflix than think about what it takes me to earn this much gold realistically, because most of my gold comes from doing missions in my class order hall. It's like all the gold that I have, most of it came from the stupid Draenor garrison stuff where they were throwing 5,000 gold at you at a time. So one of the things I wanted to talk about that I've mentioned, in the last 24 hours since I've been making content again, is that I wanted to talk about Battle for Azeroth stuff. And I'll mention again, let me know if the music is either too loud, not loud enough, or if how repetitive it is makes you want to shoot yourself in the head or something like that. Hey, that's kind of neat. That's like a little portal shield. What is that? That's a shaman. That is really cool. Is that just the Dark Shaman shield that comes with it? Neat. I'm not going to change to a shaman, but boy, that was the first time I've ever been tempted, is when I saw that shield. Because shaman are the only maleware that can use a shield. And I think if that's actually part of the Dark Shaman thing... oh, thank you. Good. The music does seem fine. I thought your name said Kenobi, and I was about to be really excited, because I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is like objectively the best Jedi ever, even though I'm not a huge fan of the Jedi. So anyway, Ken Bomb guy, thanks for cluing me in on the music. Okay, but Battle for Azeroth. So over on my other monitor, I'm gonna pull up some Battle for Azeroth stuff so that I can remember what I need to talk about. This is actually going to get a little complicated because I've got to put this on one side so I can see the chat, and I've got to put this on the other side. I know you guys can't see this because I've actually got, at least I don't think you can see it, I've actually got this set up so that it does not display anything other than WoW to the stream, which I think is kind of neat, because now I don't have to worry about embarrassing things showing up. Because, I mean, I guess I have embarrassing things on my computer. I don't know. Where's all that Battle for Azeroth crap? This is not working as smoothly as I expected it to. Oh, there we go. Battle for Azeroth. What have we got? Oh my gosh. Okay, if I sound frustrated, it's because my cat, Nessie, is walking across the desk. You go sit on the couch. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Wowhead expansion overview and just relate some of the feelings that I've had about what I've seen so far. So, and while I do that, I'm not going to process, let me show you this. I'm not going to process all the transmog stuff I bought because there's this, plus there's 100 more that are not shown. You can't see under my chat. There's 100 more of these that you can't see, so it's like I've got 150 waiting for me to equip and then disenchant. I'm not going to do that while I'm talking or I'll disenchant my real gear. I just know it. So DirectX 11 lighting, I love it. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about Battle for Azeroth stuff and my initial thoughts, and I want to preface this very carefully with that I will try and point out when it's a subjective opinion or when it's my objective thoughts. And just in case anyone's unfamiliar with that sort of terminology, subjective things are that's my own personal opinion. That's just how I feel, what I think. And there's really no wrong way for me to say it because it's all about what I think. An objective opinion is what I think is the best or the best way that I can see it as it applies for everyone. So one is more personal fact and the other is more absolute truth. Like I could say the sky is objectively blue most days, but I may subjectively not like it. That sort of thing. So just to start off, I'm just going to start going through some of these bullet points on what I thought, because I watched it on BlizzCon and I can prove it. This is another really great add-on called Cecile Quick Launch, which is basically just a CLI or a command line interface for WoW for all your crap. And so if I start, what is that thing called? Interceptor. So there we go. And so it'll autofill and I can summon see, this proves that I watched it on BlizzCon because I cannot afford to, nor do I have any desire to go to California. And so BlizzCon. And I got it just because of the mount, because I could have just watched it the following day. So when I was watching it on BlizzCon and seeing what it was, I did not expect Battle for Azeroth at all. I really expected something about the Void or something about the Dark Below, like everybody, you know. And then when I saw that it was Battle for Azeroth, I thought this is exactly what Blizzard would do, and I can't believe I didn't see it coming. Because what have they done the whole way through is they've always had the expansion be about something, but the thing that's really advancing the story the most is whatever happens in the background. So for example, what was Vanilla about? Well, on the front, it was, hey, look at this world to explore, and we've got these dragons to fight, and stuff like, it's really like black dragons and lava are bad. And so you go through that and you realize, well, actually there was this whole thing with Cthulhu and the old gods kind of in the background. Don't worry about it. And there were even some hints about the Burning Legion. And then the following expansion, oh, hey, look, the Burning Legion's really messing stuff up. And so we think, well, that expansion's about the Burning Legion. Yeah, sort of. It's actually kind of more about the political vie for power between people like Kiltha Sunstrider and Illidan and whatnot. And so we go on, Wrath of the Lich King. It's about the Lich King, but it's really kind of about Yogg-Saron. And Cataclysm is really about how the old gods influenced Deathwing and sort of stabilizing all the retconning that has happened with the lore. And then we go on and we've got the Chronicle that's been released, which I recommend to anyone. If you get it on Google Play Books and you use the Google Play Books app to listen to it, you can have it read it. But if you're on Android and you go to your language and input settings and you change the default system language to English for the UK, then you can get this really posh British accent chick reading the story, and I don't know why, but it fits much better with a fantasy type of subject matter. So anyway, the Chronicle is really great. But bringing all that in, that happened a little after, like a year after Blizzard said something that was really interesting. They said that they had reinvested in WoW because with Warlords of Draenor, right before that, they had that whole thing, and I made another video about this where I was talking about how I think Warlords of Draenor didn't go the way they planned, and it was this weird anomaly because they hired a bunch of people, they needed to train them, and I think that's legit information. But they were supposed to have the movie come out right when the expansion did and just really mass up the hype. And it didn't work because I think the movie got pushed back. And so they had to release the expansion because it's been way too long. And so they released the expansion and they didn't get the hype. And so Draenor and going back to the roots of that just didn't quite do what they were expecting. So they ended it early and jumped right into Legion. And here we are. And with the Chronicle, right around the time all that was happening, they sort of did some restructuring with some stuff in how they're planning to put the game out. And they said that they had 5 more expansions already planned and 10 more years of Warcraft in the works, or of World of Warcraft in the works. And that was just to start with, and that all happened just before the Chronicle came out. And so the Chronicle, I think, represents Blizzard's new intention for the long term of the lore of Warcraft. And the reason I'm flying around Undercity here is because, well, spoilers for Battle for Azeroth, but I mean, unless you've been living under a rock, you already know this. This whole thing is going bye-bye. If you look at some of the data mined world map for this, you can see that everything from about here all the way up to the coastline is just like the dead scar. It just gets wiped right out. And my hometown in WoW, my hometown in WoW is Brill. I remember when it was a dump and it wasn't nearly this cool looking, and I kind of miss that Brill sometimes, but that's where, for some reason, I always associated, because it probably looks like the place I grew up the most. You know, it's kind of damp here and whatnot. But yeah, this is going away. So anyway, we get to the Chronicle, we get to all this new WoW that we have coming, and now we have really steady updates. Patches come out on a very even schedule. I mean, 77 days exactly for all the patches in Legion. That's kind of impressive. 11 weeks. And we've kept that really well. And I'm sure there's some sort of math that ties that into how long it's been since since the announcement for Battle for Azeroth and then the actual release of it. But we're coming into the fruition of what they were planning to do with these 5 expansions, because they had Legion, and whether or not Legion was one of those 5, Legion ties into Warlords of Draenor very well in 2 ways. Number 1, we got Gul'dan back in the story. And it used to be only that, as far as I could see. But number 2, it allowed us to have an excuse to bring in the Draenor Orcs as an allied race. Now, I don't know if that was planned ahead, or if that's just how it turned out, but that's one of the things. What is this? Oh, this is a quest that you can't actually complete since the Cataclysm. But there used to be chicken feed here, like right here, in the old Brill, and you can't do it anymore. So I still have the quest, and in fact I've got the Horde needs mithril bars. I've kept that one for a billion years, but this is because of a bug that I was able to get the Alliance one. So that's kind of funny. So anyway, we've got Warlords of Draenor that did some weird stuff, but I just think it was an attempt that didn't work. And then we've got Legion. And Legion has sort of, I think it's a turning point expansion. I think Legion is bridging the gap between the old World of Warcraft and the World of Warcraft we have now and going forward. And the difference is they've got the game figured out. And it's no longer a matter of taking some ideas and throwing them against the wall to see what sticks. They know what works. And so now it's more of a matter of just keeping the boat going, just rowing nice and even. They can plan out patches to the day, and everything's worked pretty well. There's been hiccups here and there, but I mean, what doesn't, especially a game of this size? And so we go into Battle for Azeroth, and on the surface, it's about the Horde and Alliance war. I wish they would have put more into that in Stormheim when we're talking about Sylvanas and Greymane and everything that went on between them. It could have been so much more. The biggest frustration I have with Legion is there's stuff there that they didn't do anything with, and instead they did stuff with things that just don't make any sense. For example, Greymane's forces hold this warden tower. Break their ranks. Show no mercy. Yeah, you've heard that a billion times. And the reason is, here's an example of the problems I've had with Legion. And it's not very many things, but the things they stick out a lot is PvP. I love the PvP templates idea. I love that gear doesn't matter very much. I honestly wish gear didn't matter at all, because then if I win, I know that I won because I outplayed someone else. If I lose, I know it was because the other person deserved to win, because I didn't get smashed because I didn't have as much gear as them. And I would much rather lose because I lost than lose because I don't have as much time to bang my head against the wall getting gear. So I'm a big fan of that. I like the honor talents, sort of. I think it's a good idea, but I'm not sure if the implementation was the best way to go about it. And at the same time, I'm not sure what would be a better way to go about it. But the concept is good. I just don't see why those can't just be on all the time. What does it hurt to have them on? Because I get something like Enraged Maim in cat form, and I want to use it all the time. But I can't because I'm not in PvP. And so it's awkward having these other abilities just kind of show up and then disappear. If you PvP all the time only, and that's what you do, then it's no big deal. But for somebody like me that tries to do a little bit of everything in the game, it's kind of weird to have those things show up and then go away. But here's the big problem that I had. Number one, the prestige system has an inherent flaw in it, and I'm glad Blizzard noticed this. The idea of a prestige system sounds nice, but then you inevitably have people that always feel like they're going to be behind forever. Because since it's an endless progression, and you have to start at the beginning, either they need to squish down the early prestige levels, which takes away the value of it for experienced players in some cases, or you're just going to have people that have this long road ahead of them to get to the current rewards. And I don't know what the answer to that is, other than the prestige system simply doesn't work. But we need something for Honor to do. What is Honor for? Honestly, I didn't mind buying gear with it, as long as that gear doesn't give me a huge power advantage. So, the other thing, and this is the big one with PvP, the Warden Towers. That is not PvP. Because, tell you what, somebody say in chat a number. Since Legion launched, how many times have you actually done any PvP at a Warden Tower? How many times have you actually fought a player of the opposing faction at a Warden Tower? Because I'll tell you what, I will say in chat how many times that's happened to me. In almost 2 years. 2 times. Yeah, twice. 2 times. That is stupid. It doesn't work. And so what's the point? They're not PvP. It is a PvE area where your honor talents kick in. That's all it is. And now for somebody like me who just wants to get the PvP rewards very easily, well, that's not so bad. But Here's the problem with game development and with ideas. And I'll say this very slowly so that I can let it sink in, because this is what I think is the crux of a game like World of Warcraft. Players will always take the path of least resistance, even if they don't like it or don't want to. And so what I mean is, what do I want? I wanted... Come here, little thing. Prestigious Warwolf. I made a video about this guy. It was my least popular video I've ever made, because I made it a year too late, because it took me forever to get this. But I got this thing. I suck at PvP. When it comes down to it, I do. But I have this wolf. Why? Because I found out that if I go around the map and I just do bareback brawl and I do Dark Roll Arena, there's got to be one of these up right now, and I do Operation Murloc Freedom when nobody's around, and I PvE my way through those, I can get the prestigious Warwolf, and I can get the where is that boy? I guess I could just say the name of the mount, but it's so much more fun to show it off. And I can get this. And I have these because I PvE'd my way through the PvP. So that doesn't work. Here's how I think they should design PvP objectives. Imagine if the Warden Towers worked like this. Let's find Stormheim. I like Stormheim. It's probably my favorite zone in Broken Isles. So there's a Warden Tower like right up here. What if the Warden Tower was here, in the middle? And what if the Warden Tower was like Wintergrasp, and it comes up and it's contested every few hours, or even once a day, and it's a random time during the day, however they want to work that out. It's not important. And so whichever faction controls that faction gets 10% more reputation gained in that zone, 10% more gold dropped, 10% higher chance to have things Titan Forge. Something like that. It doesn't even need to be 10. It could be 3%. But all of a sudden, oh yeah, we want that tower. We want that tower bad. 10% more honor gained. And so if you have one over here for this zone, and yeah, thanks Thunder Totem, and one over here for this zone, and one down here, suddenly that becomes a hotly contested PvP area, especially if, well, let's see, if you control that tower, you get additional world quests that the other faction doesn't. So not only are you getting something, you're getting the bonus for things you're already doing, but you can take that tower as a way to deny the other faction access to things they want. It's kind of like the way Barad Hold worked. If you didn't win Barad Hold, or if you didn't win, what is that thing called? Barad something. What is that? Barad it's not Wintergrasp. Wintergrasp it's the other one. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, Barad holds the dungeon. And Ken Bomboy, you do have players on imbalanced servers complaining, and here's what you do to fix that. We already have cross-realm zoning. All you need to do is you need to just create shards. As players get involved, have a limit. Yeah, it's the one in Cataclysm. That's the PvP area. Have a limit to how many players can be involved, and just have it dynamically adjust people and create shards as is necessary. It doesn't need to be a server-based thing necessarily. It could be a region-based thing like Call of the Scarab does. There are other ways that you can break it out, is my point. Better ways than just doing it per server. Or, if you do it per server... Yeah, Tolbarad, that's the one. That's what it's called. If you do it per server, then it's interesting... but you run into the imbalance problem, and maybe that'll make people be choosier about their servers, especially since you can choose which servers you can be PvP on any server in Battle for Azeroth. So that's what I would do with the Warden Towers, is I would make them something that you care about, because what did I say? Players will take the path of least resistance to what they want, even if they don't like it. And so if the path of least resistance to leveling up suddenly becomes keeping those towers, then people are going to PvP when they may not have before. Or someone is going to get the tower and you just get to enjoy it. I remember doing the Spirit Towers out in Terakar Forest. And whenever we would go and do heroics out there, we would always get the spirit towers. Because it meant that we got that much more stupid spirit shards or whatever it did. I don't even remember what it did. But the point is, it was something that we cared about. So that's how I would do PvP a little differently. And going all the way back to what I was talking about, because anyone who's been on this channel for a while knows that I tend to ramble and one tangent leads to another, and then we're back at the beginning again. I think there's a lot of systems in Legion that worked very well. But PvP was not one of them, and I'm kind of glad Holinka is gone. Nothing personal against him as a person, but I don't think that his PvP design was that great, except for the PvP templates. And so when we're going into Battle for Azeroth, and we have these things to look at and to learn from, the thing they need to do with the content in Battle for Azeroth is they need to put the rewards people want behind the content they want them to do. For example, I have killed a lot of demons. Let me find that achievement. I can't see my keyboard when my microphone's here, and I have to look at the keys because I've killed 4,000 demons out of 5,000. Why did I do that? Because I was farming up this thing, and I ended up killing a bazillion demons because I was farming that sucker. I wanted the reward. And what was it behind? It was behind killing demons. In the process, I got that other achievement. I never thought I would take the time to get that achievement. And so all you have to do is take the reward people want, put it behind content you want them to do. If they want their new islands thing to be a massive success, all they've got to do is say, hey, if you do the islands, then you get this reward that everyone's going to want. And all you need to do is make it something that's not super repetitive, and then it doesn't feel grindy. Collecting Apexis crystals, you remember those things? Do you see this? I have 164,000 Apexis crystals, and I have every possible reward you could have bought with them. This is just the residual I was left over with from doing stuff in Tanan Jungle for fun before Legion launched. And so I farmed the crap out of Apexis crystals because I wanted that bird. But it felt pretty grindy. I'm just lucky that there was a lot of things to do that rewarded Apexis crystals. So I hope they learned from that and they put the rewards behind the content they want us to enjoy, and it doesn't feel like just doing the same thing over and over again every 15 minutes or even every day. Varying it up is really nice. That was the frustration I had with Mists of Pandaria, is I log in, oh yeah, it's these dailies again. Oh, maybe one or two are different. But World Quests has felt pretty fresh. I don't get the same quests every day. I mean, I'm the only person alive who really looks forward to getting to do the quest on Nuts right here. I actually really enjoy that quest. But if it happened every day and I had to do it every day, I get sick of it. But it's like once a week or something it comes up. What I need is 2 more of those curious coins. 2 more, and I can get that turtle. And that's made me do more emissaries than I would have otherwise. So let's go down the list a little bit of stuff in Battle for Azeroth, and kind of my thought and feel on it. The first thing I want to talk about are 2 things that they said. One they said wasn't in Battle for Azeroth, and another they said was. And these are probably the 2 most controversial topics in WoW right now, except for maybe Nightborn facial expressions. The first one is a really dirty word that a lot of people hate, and if I say it, then people get mad. And it's Titan forging. And people get really emotional about Titan forging because we have 2 sides of it. The one side is, well, people shouldn't deserve to have Mythic quality gear if they can't do the Mythic content. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think that you should earn what you have. On the other hand, does it hurt anyone? Does some poor schmuck who only can do LFR, does that person getting a really nice piece of gear once in a while change anything for a Mythic Raider? Well, mathematically, no. But most of the people I talk to, they say that the problem they have with it is simply the fact that the possibility exists that somebody could get Mythic geared without doing any of the work. And so I'm not going to point out my point of view just yet. I want to talk about something that Asmongold said when he made a video about quitting Mythic raiding. It came out a long time ago, and I just watched it like 2 nights ago. And one thing he said in there that I really liked was why he stopped Mythic raiding. And he felt like, other than just real life stuff, but he felt like the rewards didn't justify the increase in difficulty. And I can really understand that. Case in point, here's the difference between Mythic and Heroic. Go watch the Fat Boss video guide for Heroic Imperator Margok. In fact, I'm gonna look this up real quick so I make sure I get my facts straight before I spout them out to you. Let's see, Fat Boss Imperator. Imperator Margok's Heroic Guide by Fat Boss is 19 minutes long. The Mythic difficulty guide is 39 minutes long. And they point out right away at the beginning that the Mythic guide is not a standalone guide. It is building on the Heroic guide. So the guide for Mythic Margok is actually almost an hour long. You want to talk about difficult? You watch that guide for how to do Mythic Imperator Margok. And it's no joke. I can't even remember all the mechanics, let alone do them. Raid leading that has got to be an absolute nightmare unless you can really, really trust the people you've got. And so the difficulty difference between doing Heroic and doing Mythic, or doing the hardest of something and doing the next hardest part of it, the one tier below that, it's a tricky problem. Because on the one hand, either you have these huge rewards on Mythic, and so many people feel like, well, I can't get them. And we've got Nax 40 again, where 5% of the player base even stepped foot in there, and 5% of those people actually cleared it. And you need to get... Nax 40 was so crazy. The 4 Horsemen in Nax 40, just to wax nostalgic a little bit, because I never actually did this content. It was way above my head in vanilla. I never even stepped into a raid in vanilla, if I'm honest. At least not to raid. I may have stepped in there once just to see what it was. But in Nax 40, in doing the 4 Horsemen, you had to have 8 geared warrior tanks, like Encourage level geared warrior tanks, just to do that one fight. You needed 8 tanks, and like no other fight needed that many tanks, since you had to have people roll up warrior alts, gear them up in other raids, and then finally you could go and just do that one fight. It's madness. So we have this problem where there's this huge gap between the Mythic rewards and the normal reward, or the highest rewards and the one below that, and so many people don't see it. It's like Sunwell Plateau. How many people actually cleared Sunwell? It wasn't very many, and that was pretty integral to the story of Burning Crusade, and no one saw it. Yeah, it was amazing madness, and I love complicated fights like that. Go see Imperator Margok, or Putricide, or Blackhand. I really like those fights, but there's a certain point to where it gets kind of crazy, and it's complicated just for the sake of being complicated. I kind of like a nice balance between fights being individually difficult and being appropriately complicated. I don't mind if there's a one-shot mechanic that has a lot of room for you to get your act together, and maybe a little bit of margin for error before it goes out. But I also like some detail, some personal responsibility in it. Like in Margok, when I was main tanking it when my guild was progressing through it, and it was the only time I would ever take the Displacer Beast talent that druids are losing in Battle for Azeroth, and I don't care. And that just gives you a blink. And the cool thing about it was you end up being the only tank that has a blink. And so when he roots you, and the whole raid normally needs to move away from you, instead, you can blink away and the raid only has to move a tiny bit or not at all. And it means you don't have to stop DPS to move, you don't have to have this really difficult time getting everything back in position. It was great, and so I liked that because I had a tool to work around the complexity. But some of the stuff on that fight, especially on Mythic, which we never did, I don't even want to think about what it would have been like trying to herd cats to get that done. So it can be done. It can be overdone. And so you have this problem, this paradox. Either the rewards for Mythic are so great that everyone feels like they need them, and then it has to get too easy, and then we run into stuff like some of the previous expansion where the hardest raid tier is cleared, day one or whatever, and nobody cares, and the raiding scene kind of dies because there isn't the prestige from how difficult it is. Or you have this gap of difficulty for people that want it, but you don't have rewards to justify it. And so it's not like there's really a perfect or even a really right answer for it. And so I'll come back to that in a minute when as I talk a little more about Titan forging. So we have the curve of difficulty. The other side of it with Titan forging, other than the Mythic Raiders, is the people that feel like, well, it's not a big deal because it doesn't hurt Mythic Raiders if some scrub LFR guy gets a really nice piece of gear once in a while. What does it hurt? And mathematically, if you go do the math, it really doesn't hurt him at all. It really doesn't. I have yet to have one person show me a link to somebody's armory who has only run LFR, who's never done a Mythic Plus dungeon above like level 5, and who's never done any raiding above LFR. There's nobody that I've ever been able to find that has the same gear level as a Mythic Raider who has not done who hasn't done content higher than those things. But the problem people have isn't the fact that it doesn't exist, it's that it can exist. And so, opinion time, to that I say, what difference does it make? What do you care? So what if something in the game can happen that you don't like? I have actually really personally enjoyed the Titan forging system because it makes it so that if I've got like one of my kids playing and I would need to help them do some normal mode dungeon or whatever, there's a really small chance that I might actually get something of a useful piece of gear from that. I'm not sure what boss you're thinking of, if there's a current one where you need... Are you talking about a boss that needs a bunch of tanks? Or because Margok was in Draenor, and the boss with all the tanks was in Vanilla. Oh, wait, I don't need to go here. Anyway. And so you either have people that need to just get over their pride and accept that it's okay for other people to get nice things because it doesn't hurt them, or we need to say, well, you have to earn it and prestige matters. Yeah, so Imperator Margok, he is from Heimal, which is right up here. And he's the guy in the room with... it's like way up on the top of the spire there. He's the last boss in Heimal. And on normal and heroic, he's still pretty tricky, but it's like double tricky when you get onto Mythic, and I thankfully never did it there that way. That's way more trouble than I've ever wanted to put into raiding. I like raiding with appropriate moderation, I guess I could say. And so, do I think Titan forging should be in the game? I don't mind if it is. I don't think the game needs Titan forging, but I don't think it hurts the game. I think it just hurts some people's feelings. And I think that's something that... Shut up, Illidan. I think that's something you don't really need to have your feelings hurt about. Is this the spot? This is the spot. Okay. So, I don't need... This is real easy. If you're farming up the demon eyes... Is there still something else? Maybe there's something else I still need to get with these. Let me look this up. I need to see if there is something else I still need from Intact Demon Eyes. Intact Demon Eyes. Alright. Intact Demon Eyes. Portal. Oh no, you don't. There. Let's see, what are you a currency for? Do I have everything? I'll just collect them just in case. It's not going to make a big difference. So, anyway, Titan Forging, if they keep it in Battle for Azeroth, which it sounds like they are, it doesn't bother me. I don't mind it being there at all. And I don't think that anyone else has a justifiable reason to hate on other people getting a nice piece of gear that's not going to affect them at all. If other people get invincible to drop, that doesn't affect my chances of it dropping at all, ever. It did when we were all running ICC 25 Heroic together, and only one of them would drop and everybody had to share the roll, so even if it dropped, you still only had a small chance of getting it because there was only one to go around between people, and that's just why loot used to be terrible. And I think I need a group for this. This is going to take forever by myself. But now, I mean, personal loot, that's another thing that people get all up in arms about, and they don't like personal loot. I cannot figure out why anyone in their right mind doesn't like personal loot. You have the same probability of getting gear that you did before, because even though, well, not as many pieces drop with personal loot, but it doesn't matter, because you still have the same or even a greater chance of getting some gear that you can actually use. Because what good is the gear you couldn't use? You vendor it, so what? The bosses still drop some gold, and we're getting free gold from the Facebook missions, or whatever that's called, the Order Hall missions. So you're not missing out on anything. It's just more convenient, and it takes away the loot drama. With personal loot, there is no loot drama at all. I went through all of Warlords of Draenor with a raiding guild that I was main tank for, and we kept everything on personal loot through the entire expansion, and we had 0 instances of loot drama, whereas back in the day in Wrath of the Lich King, the other expansion that I raided very aggressively through, there was loot drama every single boss almost. And I mean, you go ahead and do that, and then you ask yourself which one you want. Do you want the loot drama, or do you want the not loot drama? Because it's a real easy answer for me. So I don't care if Titan Forging's in the game. I don't care if they remove it, to be honest. But I find that it's nice because it gives me a reason to do content I would otherwise groan at. And so when I'm helping someone out, going and doing heroic whatever, if I know that there is no chance whatever that content can give me an upgrade or even something that I feel is worthwhile, then even though I try to be a nice person, I go about it a little begrudgingly. More than I should, but, you know, I'm human. And so that's what I think the good about Titan Forging is. And even if you don't like it, I think that it kind of has to be admitted that the good of Titan Forging outweighs any perceived bad. And so I am I need 2 more of those. I am a loose fan of Titan Forging. And so Titan Forging was the first thing. The second thing is what everyone's always talking about, these things. Legendary gear. Now, when I first heard that there would be dozens of legendary items that aren't just weapons, this isn't even the thing. When I first heard there would be a bunch of legendaries all through the expansion, and that they could drop from squirrels maybe, I wasn't really crazy about that, because I thought, well, it's just like they say in The Incredibles. If everyone's super, nobody is. And if everyone if all this gear is legendary, none of it is. It's like epics. Epics don't feel epic to me, and they haven't since Burning Crusade. It might have even been earlier than that. Because, well, I mean, if your gear isn't all epic or better, then your gear is garbage. I'm sorry if there's anyone listening that still has blues on. I'm really sorry, because you shouldn't. You should honestly, unless you're leveling up. Yeah, it did. It cheapened the term legendary. It doesn't mean anything anymore, because it's not legendary, it's just rare. And rare simply means that you don't see them very often. Well, yeah, the legendary weapons live up to that. You don't see them often, but that doesn't really make them special. It's just, oh, well, here's a set bonus that's built into a piece of gear for you. Here's a talent that's built into a piece of gear for you. I think it's an interesting way to try out set bonuses and talents, but they already have that with the way that trinkets work. So what purpose do they serve? They serve a story purpose. And so here's the good thing about the legendaries. Is right now, in the story, we are the player character is the greatest of their class the world has seen, or at least that exists right now in the world. So in the story, in the subjective player story, my druid here is the greatest druid on Azeroth. I am it. I am the greatest druid this planet has seen. There we go. And okay, so somebody like that deserves to have, where is it? Deserves to have this kind of nonsense. Not that one. This one. Increases energy by 100 while in cat form. That's just stupid overpowered. It's ridiculous. The opener that you can do in PvP with this, now it's got to be the right kind of PvP. It's got to be gank someone PvP. But the opener that you can do with this thing is off the chain, to use a 90s term. It's nuts. And so the legendaries fit in with that. But there won't be legendaries like that in Battle for Azeroth. And I'm very happy about that, because I think that the functional thing that they can accomplish, I think that can be handled through trinkets. I'm glad that set bonuses for tier gear are going away, because all it does is make gearing more frustrating. It's just like hidden expertise. All that did was make gearing more frustrating. I'm a fan of some complicated math here and there when you're working your stats out. I enjoyed how it was in Wrath of the Lich King when you had to decide, do I gem for agility or for strength or for armor penetration as a cat druid. I enjoyed that, but I don't enjoy things that just make me jump through hoops and do chores to... I don't enjoy things that just make me do chores to make my gear work. And so I like the idea that they've been pushing of being able to equip your gear immediately and not feel like you have to go back and goose it up all that much, to a point. But I didn't mind... What is that thing? Oh, is this just another place? Where am I? Oh, I'm back where I started. I don't mind that. But I think... There we go. I think that gearing, taking your gear back and getting some enchants on it, or doing some stuff that your profession can do it made the gear feel more personal to me. And I miss a little bit of that. It's like crafting. Crafting's been all weird since Wrath of the Lich King. I think the last time crafting was cool was Burning Crusade. When I was playing a Warlock, because before I started playing my Druid, I played a Warlock for a while. And when I was playing that, I was trying to make the Frozen Shadow Weave set, because it had plus shadow damage, which was really great for an Affliction Warlock. And so you had to make Shadow Weave cloth. And you couldn't just make Shadow Weave cloth anywhere. Oh no. You had to go... No, come on. You had to go all the way over here to Shadow Moon Valley, and you had to go like right up in here somewhere to this little altar right there. And that was the only place you could make the cloth. And it was like a 30-second long cast time to make the robe or something when you finally could. In my opinion, it was really cool. Where is the guy for this? Is he up in there? There's got to be somewhere to get in there. Pusilla. Oh, there's another star over there. Maybe she's dead. I don't know. Anyway, and so I thought that was cool, because it felt like when I finally crafted those robes, and it was a 30-second long cast to craft the robes, and I had gone to this special place to get all the stuff for it, it meant something to me. And now, when I craft engineering stuff in Legion, all it does is kill my soul a little bit. Because look at this. I was really excited when I saw some of the stuff that you get. Like this thing. Gun shoes. Attach guns to your feet, propelling you forward. 3-minute cooldown. I thought that was going to be a rockety version of that little jump that you can do. I thought it was going to be like the Goblin Racial. But no. It's actually really stupid. It's just a joke. You'll do it one time and then never use it again, because it should have been something that happened in a quest, like Nomageddon. And here's the worst part about it. The worst part about that is, you look at these things, they stack, because this is a one-time use item. This is completely useless. It doesn't do anything cool, and so why would you want to use it? It costs so much to make. And then, even if it did do something useful, it's prohibitively expensive. And so it's terrible. Professions right now, at least engineering, yeah, engineering is a joke, but I love it because of the stuff it used to do. And so why do I keep engineering around? I keep it around for these. For a Goblin Glider. This one's great. This one's useful in a few places. You can do that. There's an achievement in Ulduar that you can do by yourself as a non-pet class. Or actually, you would need a priest to do it, or a mage. They made it so mages can do it too. And if I don't find it quickly, it's in here somewhere. Oh, this is it. Is it? I think so. It's where you've got to essentially mind control the ad and make him use an ability that he has and keep him there, or the ability lasts for a while, and then beat Thorim. And if you have this thing, you can use it to mind control the ad. It's not 100% chance to get him, but it works okay. And so that was kind of neat. I like it when you've got stuff like my class can't do that, but because of engineering, I get a little bit of flexibility into the realm of some other classes. If you don't have a speed boost, like for a Death Knight, these things are cool because this is basically a charge, and it's 2 minutes cooldown, but imagine getting into combat that fast on a boss. I've seen Death Knights do this. It's really cool. So, or water walking. I use this in PvP all the time because it makes you swim fast. And so when you're in Twin Peaks and you're over on the Horde side, and they always take the flag out that water tunnel. If you use those water gliding jets, and I don't even know if they work in PvP anymore, but if you use those, you catch everybody going through there, and they don't get away with the flag because you catch them. And so it's stuff like that. That's what makes engineering so cool. The other thing is these. These things are wonderful. I want to go to Ulduar? Okay. I just push this thing and choose the Ulduar option. Want to go to Pandaria? Cool. I just choose this thing. That's why I keep engineering around, is there's stuff in there that I find really interesting or useful. Tell you what, let's go to Pandaria. I haven't been to Pandaria in a while. Let's see what we can find here. Where will we end up in Pandaria? There we go. And so I would like to see something like gun shoes. Just design it more intelligently. Take that, and take all the professions, really, and the stuff they make should accomplish... It's like writing a good story. When you're writing a story, when you're writing fiction, you go through every word if you're editing it properly. And every word must do, ideally, 2 or more of these 3 things. It must advance the plot, reveal character, or support the theme. If the word itself, or the phrase, or the sentence, or the paragraph does not do 2 or 3 of those things, it's not worth keeping. Or it should be rewritten. And so similarly, if I look at something that a profession can do, it should give me utility I do not have. It should provide a bonus to my power that isn't too much, or it should be something that is enjoyably entertaining. So something that's funny, or something that is just kind of neat. Like here, the rainbow generator. I remember when this was just a trinket that you could get in Fellwood. It was a trinket, and people, almost everyone I knew who had done that quest kept the trinket so they could shoot rainbows at people.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. There you go. But now it's a toy. I think that the trinket here was one of the things that inspired making the toy box in the first place. This is a great example of a reward. If engineering made this, awesome. Really great thing for engineering to make. Engineering makes mounts sometimes, or some pets. Those are wonderful because people want them. There's a use for them, and so you're gating content behind things. You're gating rewards behind content you want people to do. If you want people to care about the profession, if you want me to give a rat's behind about gun shoes, where'd those things go? Then here's how you change them. I make an item, and it becomes a toy, or at least something that can sit in my bag if it has to. And I can use it, and it's got a cooldown. I don't care if it's 10 times more expensive than this. Just don't make me make another one when I want to use it again. And make it do something that I either can use or will really get a kick out of every time. If this was a reusable item, it might actually be okay for what it does. I'm not even going to show you what it does because I don't want to waste the laystone ore. Because you see that? You do that math real quick there. That's like 600 gold. Is it? Yeah, something like that. It's late. So, fix stuff. I don't know who's designing the... Bird just fell out of the sky. Like airplane parts. Oh, you see something new in this game every day. So anyway, more examples of things that just don't work because they're poorly designed. And so I hope that Battle for Azeroth fixes professions. They're already doing something pretty drastic with them. First aid in Battle for Azeroth, as far as we can tell, is gone. They're getting rid of first aid. Now, at first I was like, wait a minute. You can't get rid of... Oh, wait, yeah, first aid. When was the last time I used that? That's right, to just to get achievements. Why do I have these? I don't need those. Just to get achievements. So what good is it? What's the point? It's getting baked in with tailoring, and that's what's happening. First aid will be, bandages and crap will be something that tailoring makes. Well, that's nice. Hopefully they expand the other armor crafting professions to do something more interesting. Because some of them need some help too. Look out, birds. This is stuff that it baffles me that some of these problems still exist in the game because it felt wrong not to. Or because you wanted that achievement. Which one is it? Yeah, you wanted this. So you level up first aid. Okay? I basically just paid gold to have it. Because... What the crap is that? Sound like somebody vomiting. Anyway. But some of this stuff still exists in the game, and the professions in general are in kind of bad shape. Enchanting isn't so bad. There's some cool stuff that enchanting can do, but I look at all these slots. I like the way these enchants worked a lot. Neck enchants are great in Legion. I didn't mind these. I think these are cool. I miss needing to go get a blacksmith belt buckle. I miss that. I miss needing other things professions made. There was an engineering recipe from way back in the day. What was it? Yeah. Inlaid mithril cylinder plans. An engineer made this stuff and then gave it to a blacksmith. And then the blacksmith made the inlaid mithril cylinder, which you needed to make a couple of things, but also you needed to turn it in. Where was that place? You needed to turn it in here in Booty Bay to this Oglethorpe guy. And he would then let you specialize in gnomish engineering, which is what I chose because I like the transporter location was more convenient than Goblin, because Goblin engineering puts you up into Winter Spring, and gnomish engineering puts you down into Tanaris. And Winter Spring is right next door to Moonglade, and I'm a druid and I can go straight to Moonglade, so what good was it to get to Northern Kalimdor when I already can? So that's why I chose gnomish engineering, is because I can go to Tanaris and I can go here or here very quickly. And back in the day, Orgrimmar was where everybody set their hearth, so I had access to, really quick access to any point in Kalimdor rather quickly. And it was about getting around, because you couldn't fly, and flight paths were expensive in vanilla, sort of, and they took a long time. And so having things to get around places, that's one of the reasons engineering was so great, is because even as the expansions went on, I could get around places quite easily. If I want to go back to Argus right now, here we go. I can just do this, go right back there, which I think is really great. Let's go find there's an interesting place over here. I think it's this way. So professions, long story short, I really hope they do something a little more thought through with them and make us care about them. Just like the PvP tower thing that I talked about before, all it needs to have is it needs to have rewards that players want behind content that the devs want us to do. And if the content is fun, it's so much better. I mean, really, what's the best moment you can possibly have in a game like this? In a game like World of Warcraft, what's as good as it gets? In my opinion, I'd say there's 3 examples of reaching a point of gaming euphoria in a game like World of Warcraft. Number 1 is accomplishing something difficult. This part, right here. Ominous presence. You feel as though you're being hunted. Now, I know what this is. It's from the Nessingware quest, but I didn't know that the first time I saw this, and so I went and I was looking all over this place trying to find what in the world is giving me this crazy debuff. Spooky. I like mysterious stuff like that. Vanilla had a lot of it because they just had to fill up content. Okay. That little thing that says already fished, that's from an add-on called Overachiever, which will give you hints to stuff you either have or haven't completed for various achievements. Like, it'll tell you which critters you still need to /love in order to get that sort of stuff done. Yeah, having fun with your friends, that's the other one. That's the second one. So accomplishing something challenging, having fun with your friends, and that doesn't need to be completing any content. It simply can mean derping around Orgrimmar playing Druid Leapfrog. I guess I have to explain that one to non-druids. So this would happen even with Alliance druids, because back in Vanilla and Burning Crusade, you would actually see druids not PvP one another very much. Druids had this sort of unspoken truce because it was the only real bonding that factions had. Oh, hey, look at you. Have I killed you? Yes. See, there it is. That's it says already defeated for Glorious, so I can leave that for someone else to kill him. It was the only thing that the only class that really had a counterpart on the other faction where you would meet up together a lot is in Moonglade. It was a sanctuary, and so you got used to seeing the other druids, and you'd even get to know their names a little bit. And so druids wouldn't fight each other very much, at least the places that I was. And so you would even get ally and horde druids that on a PvP server that would play Druid Leapfrog. And so in order to demonstrate this to you, I need to use an item. Let's see, I've got it right here. I need to use this item. So pretend that that's another druid. And we weren't stags at the time, because that's a pretty recent thing by my recollection, but we were that little cheetah. And so one druid would stand there and the other one would hop over him. And then that druid would hop over, and I would be, he'd be in front of me, and then I'd hop over him. And you could sometimes get like 4 or 5 druids, and it'd be like hop, 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 hop. And then the back druid would hop up, and you had fun. And sometimes even some shaman would come and play. They'd get in their ghost wolf, and they'd do their hopping. The stackable stag is actually a reference to something that happened in Cataclysm. No, it was Mists of Pandaria, I think. Early Mists of Pandaria, and where stag form, when it first came out, whenever it was, because it was a mount essentially, because somebody can ride on your back, it had a standable platform built into its hitbox, and so another stag druid could stand on top of it, and then another one could stand on that, and so you would get druids that would fly up and, you know, land on each other's back in stag form and make this big stack of stags. And that was pretty wonderful. And so Blizzard nerfed that because they love to destroy fun, but sometimes when they destroy fun, they bring the fun back. And so you can get the stackable stag, incidentally, right over here. Where are you? I think is it you?
Interesting.
Maybe, yes. Stackable stag, and oh, you can get this thing. All right, I know I'm not talking about Battle for Azeroth stuff right now, but I have to show you the Foxicopter controller. This, I put this in a video before, but this is a reference to a guy who taxidermied a cat into a drone, and so they put this in the game. How dumb is that? It's wonderful, and it can fight too. I kid you not, it can fight. Come here, trash panda. See? It's got claws. It can fight. It's one of the greatest toys in the entire game, maybe ever. It's glorious. Oh yeah, it can fight. In fact, if any of you are kind of crash and thrashing, I'm rather crash and thrashing myself. I have a title that proves it. All of these crash and thrashing things can fight. They have stuff, and they can fight each other. It is possible to have crashin' thrashin' tournaments. I got too far away. And it's great, but nobody does anything with them. And this is one of the things that drives me crazy about World of Warcraft, is Blizzard puts amazingly fun stuff in the game, and no one does anything with it. No one uses it because of 3 reasons. 1, everybody thinks the thing that matters most is getting content done. All they want to do is just eat the content. They just want to suck it up. Number 2 is they don't know about it. And so unless someone tells them about it, like, you know, somebody who's streaming late at night and barely making sense with what he's saying, talks about stackable stags, you don't even know about it. You don't know about Foxicopter controllers or Crash and Thrashing. And so, they don't care. Yeah, your friend said Darby's. That's great, because that's not very common, and it should be. There's no rewards behind doing that, except for achievements. And once you get the achievement, you never do it again. And I think that, would it be so bad if maybe doing some Crash and Thrashing got you a little bit of a reward for something? Maybe it would, because here's what would happen. People would find a way to grind it. And if Crash and Thrashing became more efficient at grinding out whatever that thing is, suddenly everybody would just do that. It's like these things. Where are they? They're in here, I swear. They're in here. They're toys. I know they're toys. Where did they go? There they are. These. Luchador. What are these for? I'll tell you what these are for. These are for going in your garrison with one other person, facing the wall, and having that other person kick you in the butt for 20 minutes so that they can get the achievement for the event. What are these things for? It's that. So that they can get defeating 50 contenders. People don't get together and have a big old battle royale like they're supposed to. They grind it out to get it done more efficiently because they want to check the box. And that's a problem with human nature. And so even if people know about it, even if people can get the stuff to do it, that doesn't mean they'll do it, because people just want to maximize efficiency, because everyone is in so much of a hurry these days that they can't stop to have some fun. That's kind of neat. It's like flying around, because I can't talk and do stuff very well at the same time. That's why I'm not doing a dungeon, because I'd get everybody killed. So instead, I'm flying around looking at cool stuff that I never really paid that much attention to before. It's kind of neat. Look at that. It's not even something. What is that? I don't know. And so it's a problem with human nature. Why don't we have more fun with the stuff that Blizzard provides us? Look at this whole box of toys. How often do you use it? When was the last time I used the Warlord's Flag of Victory? Well, never, because I used the Horde Flag of Victory. What about the rocket helmet? Oh yeah. When I think about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that item. It used to be like a quest item or something. And you could, everybody would keep it because it was funny. And they'd use it, and it gave you a hat. And I don't know how long the hat stays, but I think we're going to find out. We got to get on a mount now, so we can see how long the hat stays. Whoa! Oh, that's right. It's from this. These things lower your casting speed on your mount. There it is. Something like that. Yeah. One of these. Cast time of all mount spells reduced by 75%, but I'm out of range now. I got this hat on. And so there's all this fun to be had, but we don't even do it because we're in too much of a hurry. And part of that is just the way the world is. I mean, when I think about all the time that my family and work and everything else that's more important than playing WoW is, that's a lot of my time. And so then when I play, I want to get stuff done. That's pretty. And so I don't take the time very often to go do little things like that. But yet, what's the stuff that I remember from WoW? You can tell what good content is by what you remember. I remember when we finally downed Blackhand. I made a video about the process of doing that. I remember me and my buddy going and doing the Onyxia attunement quest during Burning Crusade when I finally had a character high enough level to do it. And just sitting around. It was Halloween at the time, and I think we had those broomsticks out. It was either that or some other time we had the broomsticks out, and we were just flying around doing Harry Potter stuff. We were scooting around because you can't fly in the old world during Burning Crusade. You think he got that name after, or do you think he started doing this because of his name? Does this make you... Oh, cool. See, I didn't even know this dude was here. It's kind of funny. So there's a lot of fun content in here, and my point is that we don't even do because we're too busy. And I hope that Blizzard adjusts a little bit about their approach to rewards and content gating to make that a little better. So to go all the way back to what I was talking about originally, what are the reasons you're subbed? Because I can't keep a thought going in one direction for more than 30 seconds because I'm still talking about Titan forging and legendaries. So legendaries, to go all the way back to where we were, I'm glad they're gone, and they exhibit one of the problems that the game has is the rewards and the content aren't in the right order necessarily. That's really all it is. Already killed that guy. Cool. So I think I've made enough points about that. There's really sensible ways to solve some of these problems, but some of them are not so simple. It's like the difference, like I was talking about how you've got this gap between heroic mode rewards and mythic rewards. Heroic mode rewards are, honestly, they're really great. You can get the Violet Spellwing. You just don't get like the nicer, sometimes looking transmog sets, and you don't get the one exclusive mythic mount. It's just not enough, but if they made it more, then you have another problem. So what's the right one? Either mythic is just there for people that want the challenge alone, and that's the reward is the challenge itself, the journey is its own reward, or you have it so that everyone does it, and then it's not special anymore. I think the way they have it now is probably the best way it can be because of that paradox. Mythic not having so much greater rewards means that the people that do Mythic are the ones that actually want the challenge. or they're stupid and they should just not do it because they don't care about the challenge. So then what are you doing it for? Patting yourself on the back? I mean, if that's important enough to you, whatever. I've got 5 kids. I'm a busy guy, and I still love to play World of Warcraft, and I love to get certain things. I've gone through entire expansions and cleared everything and gotten all the raids and whatnot. And then there's times where I just do not have the time, and I pay someone to take me on a heroic ahead of the curve clear. And I have no shame in doing that, because when it comes down to me maintaining a raid schedule for ahead of the curve, or me simply using the resources I've accumulated over a little while, I mean, I earned it one way or another. And I'm fine with that. Not everybody is. Some people think that it's a real dirty, cheating thing to do, to pay someone to get an achievement. I don't care. I want the mount, and I like a full collection of Ahead of the Curve. I don't even have the full collection. I don't have it for Garrosh because I was too lazy to do it. I could have done it, and I was too lazy. And that bites me in the butt every time I think about it. Whatever. So, next I want to talk about allied races. And what my thoughts are on that, because boy, that's probably the next most controversial topic after Titan forging and legendaries. Legendaries, I think they're doing the right thing by not having them, and Titan forging I think should stay because the gains outweigh the costs. But before I get into that, I really need to go get a drink of water, and so I'm going to let you stare at my Riddler's Mindworm's tail and that mysterious red star, which I will talk about in just a minute. So I'll be back in... Oh, hi. I'm trying to turn my microphone off. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. I am way faster than I thought I was at getting drinks of water. So, here we are. So, allied races. What we've been asking for forever are 2 things. It always comes down to 2 or 3 things. Number 1, when I go and make a new character, I can pick, like, a few things. I can't even pick my eye color in World of Warcraft. I can pick how ugly I am, what my horns look like. Well, that was cool. Oh, hang on. Do I have these on my druid? No, these give you rep. These give you a boatload of rep. Okay. In the face. Yeah, there we go. Commendations. That's what they do. Cool. And they're all up because nobody comes here. Yay. Wow, having those little stars on the map is really convenient. They didn't used to have those last time I did this on my rogue. Back when I was a smelly rogue. So we were asking for more customization for our characters because other fancy new games came out and they had customization. And they had a lot of it. It was really cool. What do I do with these commendations again? Do I turn them in? I think I turn them in way back over at Garrosh Hellscream's little island. Okay, we're going to go back there and turn these in. I think that's what I do. I'll probably need to get more of them because I can't turn in 32 of them, but we'll find out. Somebody made me remember. So more customization is obvious. Eye color, maybe some sliders for muscularity or other things. Height would be nice. How straight you stand up as a troll or undead, or you can't really do that. Some people think, well, the Tauren are hunched over. They're not hunched over. It's their physiology. There's really no better way to do this. Hang on, I'm gonna find the right way to do this. Where is it? Oh, it doesn't matter. We'll just go right out here. Okay. Bye-bye, helmet. Okay, now we gotta be quick. That's not too far. Alright, we'll get back to Tauren physiology in a minute. So more customization. It would be great. Part of that is it's expensive. And when Blizzard says it's expensive, they don't necessarily and usually don't mean it costs a lot of money to do that. In some cases it does. It costs resources to do that. And so when they say making these features is expensive, it does mean that it takes resources that could otherwise be used for some other part of developing the game. But it also means that it's expensive in system resources, meaning that it would make the game run slower for everyone. It would be more work for the game client or the game server to do to process the information or to have the varieties. If you follow Heroes of the Storm at all, you'll notice, why does Alexstrasza in Heroes of the Storm not have ears? Because they needed to keep the file size down. What's the file size? The file that contains Alexstrasza's information, that contains her model, the textures for it, the variations on those textures, all of her spell effects, everything like that. It's got to be a certain size, because when you load up a game, you've got a file that contains that map. You've got a file for each of the different heroes that someone chooses to be. And if you add all that together, it's got to be a small enough footprint to fit inside the amount of memory the game is set to run in. And so if you have all these extra variables, suddenly the file for Tauren males gets pretty big if you can adjust the height when you couldn't before, and that could make it so that instead of the game running, let's see, what's the game taking right now? I don't think that you can see this, but right now World of Warcraft is taking 1.7 gigs of RAM. Not bad at all. But if they're trying to keep it under 2 gigs, that could be something that because that could be prohibitively a high amount of RAM for older systems that they're still trying to support can run. Suddenly, if you add a height variable to all of this stuff, it changes this file size, and it makes it so that it's harder for the game to have resources to run, or suddenly the game has more work to do, and I wouldn't be pulling 90 frames a second here, I'd be pulling 40. It can make a lot of difference. If you mod Skyrim a lot, you can see how that goes. Oh my gosh. Windows wants to do updates at the most inconvenient times. So before my corpse disappears, take a look at this. This is getting updated. All the skeletons are being updated in Battle for Azeroth, but if you take a look at how this is the lumbar spine, this is the thoracic spine right here, and the head actually attaches right up here. And so a Tauren, if you look at the shape here, there's the thoracic spine. It's way up here. And the lumbar spine right like that. Curvature back like this. And so the head actually attaches right here. The shoulder blades are over here, but they kind of go up like this. So they're not straight on the back. And anyway, anatomically, Tauren's heads are in the right place. They're standing up straight. You can see that because the stomach is pretty flat. The lumbar spine curves in. This is good posture for a Tauren right here. It's just the way they're shaped. Trolls, on the other hand, let's roll the dice and see if we can get lucky. Can we get a troll? No, of course we can. Goblin has good posture. Let's see what else we've got here. Dwarf has good posture. You're killing me here, toys. Okay. This is probably a better example anyway. Look at this guy. the spine should be shaped like an S. The head should be here, and it comes down, goes back along the thoracic spine, and then curves in for the lumbar spine. It's an S. And then it comes down here, and then it curves down and back. You know, it's wavy. That's the way the human body works. And so this is terrible. And you'll notice this with people. If you watch somebody walk, look at where their palms are. If their palms point toward one another, then that means their shoulders are externally rotated, and they tend to have better posture because their shoulder blades are back where they belong, and their chest is out, their shoulders are back, and that usually means that the spine is in the right place. But if their palms are pointed behind them, if they're pointed back, and so the tops of their hands are pointed forward, then their shoulders are internally rotated. And that ruins everything. It causes that hunchback thing you get when you're old. There's some old people, you'll notice they stand up nice and straight. There's some that hunch forward, a lot of them, especially Americans. We have terrible posture in this country. And so if you want to change a big thing about your life, stand up and take a look at where your palms are when you're just standing normal and you're resting. Your palms should face one another. And if they don't, what you want to do is move your shoulder blades back and stick your chest out until your palms are nice at your sides and the palms point toward one another. And get in the habit of standing that way and sitting that way and basically always being that way. Even when you lie down, your shoulders should be in that position. And that will correct your posture. And you'll find you don't get as fatigued because if your shoulders are internally rotated, the weight of your head is pulling your neck forward, and it's taking the place where your lumbar spine and your thoracic spine meet right here, and it's putting all this pressure, all this strain right here, and because this weight is pushing down. Whereas the way that you want to be, okay, treat me nice, little thing. Oh, this will work. The way you want to be is like this. Look at where her head is. Her head is putting weight right down on her shoulders, and that weight is being held by the spine, which just goes straight back there, right down to the feet. A nice straight line, and the body just kind of curves around it. That's how it's supposed to be. So, do yourself a favor and learn good posture. It will help you the rest of your life. For those of you who already do it, awesome. So, there we go. There's your anatomy and physical therapy lesson for today. So anyway, more customization options for the various races. I'm glad they're getting new skeletons, because those will look nice. I already have that guy. I was right back here already. Oh, that's right. I'm flying back to Dominance Point. The other thing is good posture lessons with Never. Thank you. I've got to be good at something, right? And so the other thing we wanted is sub races. But instead we got allied races. And some people think, well, that's not what we asked for. We wanted sub races. So why did you give us something we didn't ask for? And then there's that whole thing, well, Blizzard says, well, you think you want this, but you don't, like with Classic, and then they go ahead and do Classic. Here's the thing about that. If you think that that's the first time Blizzard said, no, we're never going to do this, stop asking, they've said that so many times, and then it turned out not to be true at all. Part of that is just the way you do marketing. You throw people off the scent, so they stop bothering you about it, so that when you actually announce it, they're like, because I remember when they played that Classic video. Oh, hey, look. This brings up another thing I wanted to talk about a little later. Well, not that much later, because we're talking about allied races. See, some of you are really ahead of the game, and you already know what I'm going to say. Look at this dude. Look at that sweet stealth animation. Oh, yeah. See, the big secret is I plan on race changing to a Zandalari troll, because look how he's standing. These dudes, they have good posture. A Zandalari troll is the only way that a Horde Druid can have good posture, and that's important to me. And finally, I will be able to have good posture. Kind of makes you cry a little, doesn't it? So anyway, that's what's happening. So allied races are not what we asked for. I personally think they are better, and here's why. They add a lot of story to the game. Doing the intro quests for the Nightborn and for the High Mountain Tauren, I thought were great, because they are such a good precursor to what the next expansion is about. Because I'll tell you right now, Battle for Azeroth is not about fighting the Alliance. The battle for Azeroth doesn't mean the battle that takes place on Azeroth. It doesn't mean the battle for the ownership of Azeroth. It means the battle to save Azeroth. Because Azeroth is bleeding. I'll prove it. What? Oh, yeah. Azeroth's, you know what, right here? That's right. Bleeding Azerite. And we are fighting to save our little planet. It's this one. We're fighting to save this planet. Those two planets, nobody likes them anymore because we're all sick of this place because of its anachronistic craziness. And this one, it's really just the letter E that's falling apart. And I got so sick of that place when we were there. This place still has a lot to offer me, even though the Maelstrom, the Maelstrom has moved. I think it's going to crash into here. The goblins are going to have it crash in and ruin Ajara. And for anyone that didn't notice, this is the Horde logo. I know it's not a big revelation, but it surprises me how many people haven't seen that this is the Horde logo before. So, allied races. I think the concept of them is cool because it's giving us more content that is interesting.
What is it?
And it gives us more context on things. Also, it means that they don't have to worry about adding more variations to existing races. If they were just going to make it the sub-races expansion, well then what good does that do? What do I do with these things? This commission has been granted to blah blah blah, bring it to Ongrum Blacktooth. Okay, who's that? Oh, it's you. His friend right here. Okay, oh, no, I don't care about these at all. Because one of these, yeah, this calls the rodents, and I already have, holy frick, 8,000 gold almost. No, I'm not farming up 2,000 of those for that. Okay, these are going away. What a waste. Okay. Oh, I did the flip. I'm a little sad that the Nightborn didn't get the flip. Anyway, so I think allied races have a lot more to offer us, a lot more options, because if it was just sub-races, it would be like, okay, High Mountain Tauren or Grim Totem, Dark Iron Dwarves, some kind of humans. I mean, now it would be the cult around humans, which may still happen. And then Nightborn, that can happen. Zandalari Trolls, that can happen. You know, all the safe ones so far. But what about other stuff? If you wanted to add in these dukers as an allied race...
How's it juking? Where we going? What you need? How's it juking? Pull me finger. Okay, no, wait. No, pull this one. Okay, wait. No, come back later. We try again.
Oh, that guy's so messed up. Anyway, if we wanted to add those guys as an allied race, what sub-race do we make them? How do we do that? They would need to be a whole new race, and no one cares. And so it's an opportunity for Blizzard to add in a lot of races that take less work, because the Zandalari Troll, you saw that dude there, it uses the Night Elf skeleton with some new animations. So it's not straight up a Night Elf like the Nightborn are, but even the Nightborn, they're not really exactly... Now I gotta go look at one. They're not exactly Night Elves. We'll go find a female Nightborn while I'm talking, and I'll show you the difference between the Night Elf, which I'm transformed into right now conveniently, and the Nightborn. They use the same skeleton, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everything about them is the same. That means that there's a lot of things that are similar, but there are differences. Where is one? That's a Blood Elf. He's sitting. Okay, let's go to Orgrimmar. Oh. So anyway, the allied races give us more options, because if we're going to get those... Oh, there's one right there. If we're going to get those Volpira, what do you make those a sub-race of? Goblins? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So you can see clearly here that they are similar, but look at the difference in the way they stand. This is more heroic. This is more relaxed. Ears are different, but that's not really a big matter of the skeleton. Arms are in a different place, and even the running animation is different. If I can get this person to run, or this person, look at her run. Look at her run. Look how wide her run is. And she doesn't step as often. She's got a longer stride, than the Night Elf does. So same skeleton, but the animations are different, and some of the weighting is a little different too, which is cool because it shows Blizzard has done some work on these to give them some individuality, which might be why they don't have the flip. I just don't think it's fair. I think everyone deserves a flip. Blood Elves get a spin. What do Tauren get? We get this, which is neat, I guess. I don't know. So I think allied races are better than sub-races because they could be anything. Blizzard even said that anything with 2 legs they've considered for an allied race. And they said they plan on adding a lot more of them. So not just 4, not even just 6, but I don't know how many we could get. We could get tons of them. So many that in the login menu, there's a whole separate section for them because they can't fit all the ones they're gonna do on. Yeah, Murlocs. Murlocs are one of those things where it's like they're always just out of reach for players. At least that's what I thought until Heroes of the Storm, and they added Murky. So I don't know. Murlocs can't even speak English, or what is it? It's not common. That's in D&D. Whatever the thing is here. Is it just common here? What do you call it? It's Orcish for the Horde, but I don't know what the common language is. I mean, only the faction, only the plot characters are intelligent enough to speak a common language in World of Warcraft, because Khadgar talks to me all the time. I really wish Khadgar couldn't speak a language that I understand, because then I wouldn't have to listen to him as much. Yeah, Alliance have common. There we go. So it gives us more options to have allied races. That's the bottom line of it. And so the specific allied races that we have, I think, are good choices because they are ones that are easier to do, and they're ones that are going to be popular with people. Everyone's wanted stand upright trolls for wait, Murlocs in Hearthstone speak English? I haven't played Hearthstone in a really long time. I think it's a fantastic game. I just don't have room in my life for it because I'm playing this. And there's a reason that World of Warcraft is kind of the only game that I play, except for occasional dabbles into other games, is because it's like every game almost. It's got a little bit of everything, so it's enough to keep me interested without feeling like I need to play 5 other games. And so, yeah, maybe they might make Murlocs, but I just can't see a lot of people actually doing that. That's one of the things that I think is a real example of you think you want this, but you don't. I think some people would think Murlocs are neat and play them for a little bit, but I have a hard time seeing a lot of people maining a Murloc. And so then it comes down to the age-old question is, well, that's expensive. And if it takes resources to develop and it takes resources to run in the game client, you want to spend those resources on what's going to give you the most bang for your buck. Nightborn are an easy thing to do because they share resources with the Night Elves. So do the Zandalari Trolls to a point. And the Dark Iron Dwarves share a lot of resources with dwarves. The Volpera share resources with goblins. And that's great because it keeps the file sizes down. I don't know what a Paladin's secret Murloc is, but that sounds like something that people would like. I'll have to ask my son. He plays Hearthstone. So they do the safe ones. Nightborn, everyone's been like, oh yeah, Nightborn should become a race in the next faction. It just makes sense. I never thought they would do it, but here we are. And there's Nightborn like all over the place. As soon as I say that, I can't find one of them. There's one. Okay. Yeah. So they did the easy ones, and they did a good job. I like the allied races. I generally choose to like things. It's like The Last Jedi. Now, I'm not going to open a big old can of worms and talk about Star Wars for a long time, because I've talked about that a little bit, but here's my 1 or 2 paragraph thing about The Last Jedi as a movie. I love Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I grew up with it. It's always had a special place in my heart. I think that there are a lot of things about The Last Jedi that were ridiculous or silly or could have been done better, or even some things I didn't like. But there were a lot of things I did like about it. And so I have a choice. I can choose to make a big deal out of the things I didn't like, or I can choose to make a big deal out of the things that I did. And really, I can only think about one of those at a time. And so whichever one I pay attention to is the one that really matters. It's like there's somebody once said there's two wolves inside of you. There is a wolf that is trying to devour you and destroy everything you love, and there's a wolf that's fighting for what it really matters to you. And the question comes up, well, which wolf is winning? And the answer is the one you feed. And so this is the same thing. There are two wolves inside of me, one that hates The Last Jedi and one that thinks it's all right. Which one wins? The one that I feed, the one that I give the most, that I pay the most attention to. And so one wolf gives me another Star Wars movie to enjoy, and some really great funny moments, and some cute stuff, and some kind of cool stuff too. Another wolf makes me bitter. So which one do I want? Which point of view do I want to experience for a lot of the time that I'm thinking about Star Wars? So I choose to enjoy The Last Jedi. Yeah, I could tear it apart real easily, but what good does that do me? Nobody's going to pay me to tear the movie apart. I mean, let me be clear. If you plan on paying me a decent amount of money to rag on The Last Jedi, oh man, I will stomp it into the ground without mercy, but I don't think anyone here is about to do that. So instead, I'm just going to choose to enjoy it. And I feel that way about a lot of the stuff Blizzard does. There are some things Blizzard does that, yeah, I can find a lot wrong with it, or I can choose to enjoy it. Legendary weapons, or well, legendary items. I guess they're not weapons in this case. Legendary gear in Legion. Yeah, I don't think it was a good way to go. I think that could have been accomplished with trinkets, and we didn't need the legendary gear because it's caused a lot more problems than it's fixed. But I can't change that. Instead, I can be like, hey, look at this. Look at this ridiculous thing. Where did it go? Look at that. Double Moonfire. 20% more damage. It's crazy. So I might as well have fun with that. That's all right. It's all about your outlook. Life is too short, and there's too much stuff to do that actually matters to get all up in arms about things that don't. The sun will go on rising and setting, whether we get sub-races, or whether there's Titan forging, or whether there's more legendaries. Luckily, we are getting allied races, which I think are objectively better because they give us more options, and we are getting no more legendaries, and we are keeping Titan forging, which I think does more good than bad. So class changes is the next thing. It was always kind of a weird thing. What was going to happen when we got rid of the artifact weapons? Because, like I alluded to it a little bit earlier, we are the best of our class in the whole world. You're it. You're the big cheese. And you've got this incredible, powerful weapon. I've got 4 of them. So I'm a big deal. And so if I'm going around doing this really super heroic stuff, where do you go from there? That's one of my biggest problems lore-wise that I have with World of Warcraft right now is where do we go next? What could I possibly have to do that is more heroic and epic than what we've done? I mean, we just defeated the Burning Legion, basically the big bad guy for World of Warcraft. Blizzard saw that we were going to do that soon, and they had to invent new big bad guys that were even bigger deal than the Burning Legion. That's how, I mean, with the Chronicle and the whole revamp of the lore that they did there. Maybe it's not technically a revamp, but you get my point, I think. They changed that stuff. They introduced the concept of the Void Lords and how that goes, because I'm pretty sure that wasn't there before. And so where do we go from here? Do I become like a cosmic superhero akin to one of the Titan Keepers now? And so what sense does it make for me to ever come back to Azeroth if I'm doing something like that? And so I think that part of the learning curve, what I loved about vanilla World of Warcraft is that I wasn't this big special guy. I was just a really good soldier, effectively. I wasn't a private. I was a sergeant, maybe. But I didn't need to be a general or a commander or pick whatever high up rank you want. I think that being a sergeant or maybe even a captain is a little bit more fun than being the head of the whole army. Because when you're the head of the whole army, yeah, the scale of the story got too large. I fully agree, and that's really what I'm trying to say, is that it's just too big of a deal now. And I think we need to dial it back. And I think that they're trying to do that by returning the focus to Horde versus Alliance, the old school stuff. It's sort of a way to quietly turn the knob down on how powerful we all are. And there's really no nice way to do that, because it's like flying. If I could go back in time and change it, flying would never have been added to the game. I use flying all the time, and I actually enjoy using it, but I hate doing this. Look at that. I mean, I even have my draw distance turned down so that I can't see forever and spoil my immersion. I don't like seeing this over here with that. It just makes it look so small. Part of the reason that this whole game world works in the first place is because of a really cool thing that happens in Stone Talon Mountains. And I'll see if I can get up there to show you. But take a look at this in context right here. Look where we are. Over here, we've got this crash thing. That place wasn't that interesting anyway. That nasty bug hive is gone. And over here, we've got this. And so let's say I'm fighting these sandstormers and whatnot. Now I've got to go turn my quest in. And so I get on my mount. I'm going to fly because it's faster. I get on my mount and I go back over here and I take this journey. And oh, I've got to stop and fight that guy. And I take this journey through here. And I go around and then I come around the bend and let's say, okay, here's where I turn my quest in. Now doing that, because I can't see my house from there, I can't, oh, I'm just over there. I'm just over there. Look at this. I'm over there. You could kick a football to where that quest was. But over here, having to go around the thing and take 30 seconds, it feels like I went a long way. And so when you're down on the ground, it gives the game a sense of scale. I have to look up at that. And that cool blood moon. That's really cool. But anyway, there's a reason these levels are designed the way they are. It's like, look at this thing up here. Here's a tower. Keep that as a frame of reference. And so I go down here and I'm gonna go do another quest, and I come down like this, and then I need to turn down here and go across this bridge, and then I need to go way down over here. And by now I can still see the tower, but it's way over there. And because I can see, look at all these layers. We've got a layer here, layer there, and a layer there. And as I move, all three of those move. Well, that looks a lot like mountains in the distance when you move. If you ever drive past mountains, you see that sort of stuff. Yeah, I saw that DLC too, equipping that sword. Good luck with that. And so that gives the illusion that it's much farther away than it is. Look at these mountains over here in the distance. That looks like a mountain. It looks like it's really big. It looks like maybe it would be that big if I get close enough to it. Sort of, because our eye's been trained to do that. You've got to be kidding me. All right, little fella. It's never going to get old. Okay. But, you know, these mountains, I said that with rock and roll quotes. I know you can't see it. Maybe I'll get a webcam going one day. Let's take a look at this. Well, these mountains, I mean, the tower is half as tall as they are. No big deal. It's like the mountains in Skyrim. They're just really not that big, except for that one mountain. So these just look like mountains. I mean, look how big this is. My front yard is bigger than this mountain. Well, bigger than the top of it anyway. And so, but it's scale. It's an illusion. Illusions, Michael. That's all it is. And it works when you are down here on the ground in your ground mount. It works really well. And so the sense of scale that the world has, it's there when you're on the ground, but it's not as soon as you take to the air. Even if you get on a flight path, it keeps the scale there a little more than it does if you're flying, because if I just get on a flying mount and I just go this way and all I can do is look around, yeah, I can see stuff, but it's in motion. I can't really get a good look at it in all of its detail. You look at a boss like Yogg-Saron. Yogg-Saron is really creepy, and he's really just awesomely scary looking, when you see him in game in context. But if you look at the model in the model viewer and you see what it is, it loses its magic because you can see the stuff behind the curtain. It's just not as cool. And so that's what's happening here. And so if I could go back in time, I would not have put flying in the game, or I would have put it in a few zones on a mount that you can rent. I don't think we can take flying out now. Yeah, flight paths were path to keep the scale intact. That's right. So I don't think we could take flying out now without causing a lot of damage to people. Some people would quit the game over flying because they would lose the convenience. And they would say, I'm wasting so much time riding around on my regular riding mount. Now I do have an idea for what you could do to fix flying. I think the Pathfinder system is good, but I think that you could go a step further with flying. And, oh look, a rare. Who is this rare? Hey, you. I can kill you. Let's see what you drop. I hope he drops a mount of himself. I know he doesn't, but I can hope that there's something in the game I don't know about. Whoa, look at that. Ah, trypophobia. Okay, die, little sucker. Yay. He dropped... Oh, goody. Oh, joy. He dropped 70 order resources. Hang on. I gotta write this down and tweet about it. What an incredible discovery and reward, and yeah. Well, that put me above 42,700 instead of 42,600, so that's pretty cool. Remember what I was talking about putting rewards behind content? Maybe that guy could have given me like at least some funny like gray items that I can vendor but are funny and have a story behind them. Whatever. Anyway, he's just some rare. He probably... I wonder if he drops anything. What was his name? At Zarshej. Oh, the heck kind of parents name kids like that? Zarshej. I'm going to look him up on Wowhead and see if he has anything. XAARSHE Juliet. Okay. He drops a pet. He drops a pet. And it is... Drops from rare. Yeah, it already respawned. It's right there. But can you loot it more than once a day? Yeah, subsequent respawns do not drop loot, is what it's saying on Wowhead. Let's find out. I'll kill him again. But I'm pretty sure I got my chance for the day and he's not going to drop anything else. Just like all of the rares that they put in Argus. Yeah, I see you. So, we'll see. I bet he doesn't drop order resources this time, otherwise it would be a really efficient way of farming them up, and we know that that would have to get removed because that is not the way that Blizzard wants you to get order resources. Even though I get more order resources than I can shake a stick at. Yeah, see, he dropped nothing, so killing him again is pointless. But maybe there's another one around here, because it says there's 3 of them, so I'm going to go look for them. So I would remove flying if I could retroactively back in the day, but it's just not the right thing to do because people are too accustomed to it. It would hurt the game more than it would help it at this point, even if it breaks the sense of scale horribly. Here's what I would do though. In Orgrimmar, there is a place you can go, someone you can talk to. I've never done it, so I don't know who, but you can talk to someone and you can turn off experience gains. That is so that you can go and make yourself a disgusting little level 19 twink and pwn noobs and BGs, or at least that's what they thought, until Blizzard also said that if you do that, you're only going to be put in BGs with other people that do that. And so the power level is evened out again, and you can't pwn the noobs super easy. So, suck it, twinks. Yeah, guy near the PvP area. And so that's kind of neat. Similarly, that's how PvP is going to be in Battle for Azeroth. You're going to be able to turn it on and off, and you have to go all the way to Orgrimmar to do it, which I think is good, because it's something you can't just, oh no, the bad guys are here, I better turn off my PvP. I think you need to commit, and I like that you get to commit to it. And so I would do something similar to that for flying. Imagine, if you will, let's look at this pretty sword while we talk. Imagine, ouch, that you could go talk to an NPC, and that NPC would make it so that, except for places like Netherstorm and maybe Storm Peaks, you no longer can fly anywhere. Now, why would you do that? Well, like we talked about before, it's all about putting rewards behind the content. So what reward would be compelling enough to make you do that? What if you got 10 or 20% increased rep gains, increased gold drop? What if specifically desired rare items had a higher chance to drop for you? Invincible's Reigns has a 1% chance to drop thereabouts. What if you got a 2% chance for it to drop? Now, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but supposedly, or in mathematical theory, it would take half as many attempts to get Invincible's Reigns if you had this extra 1% added to it, if it doubled the existing percentage. And so if everything had a bigger chance to drop for you, would you turn flying off to earn that privilege? I would. Because what does flying get you? It's convenience. Convenience through saved time. It's not saved effort. Not really. I mean, yeah, finding the path to ride up to there, to get to that tower, remember? I had to think a little to navigate the terrain. Maybe I had to kill some sort of like hyena on the way, but it's not a really big challenge. Flying makes things faster, makes them more convenient. And so, would you give up that convenience to save time elsewhere? If I had to, in theory, on average, if I had to run stuff half as much to get the stuff I wanted, certain things, not power things, but vanity things like mounts and pets and stuff like that, if I had to run the stuff half as often to get stuff on average, would I be willing to give up the convenience and the time-saving convenience of flying? I would, because with it, I would get back the sense of scale. But right now, even people will say, well, just go onto your regular ground mount and enjoy it from the ground, idiot. And I think about that, and I think, yeah, already riding around here, jerk, riding around here on my little Karaji mount, I like this place more already, because I can see how cool that looks. I'm down here, oh, the critter crept by. It works better for all the reasons we talked about. Look at this thing. I can go up this bridge. Some part of the back of my mind thinks it's cool to go up that bridge because it's a bridge, and oh, okay, I can jump from here onto the bridge and then jump back. What a cool trick. I could just walk up there, but I went on the bridge because it's fun. See, this is called fun. And so why don't I just do this all the time? It's because I need to get this quest done, and I have an hour to play right now, and I just don't want to spend the whole hour. Look at this. Look how fast this is. I can get all the way back up to this tower in 20 seconds. It would take me like 2 minutes on the ground. That's why I don't do it, is because that 2 minutes adds up. And just doing that quest, 2 minutes down there, 3 minutes doing the quest, and then 2 minutes back. Okay? That adds up to 7 whole minutes. Whereas if I fly there, 20 seconds down there, and I can just fly from one thing to another. So 1.5 minutes doing the quest, 20 seconds back up here. It's just over 2 minutes to do the whole thing, and by then, I would have just got down there. And I'm busy, like we talked about. And so it just doesn't make enough sense. It's not good enough for the rewards. But if I knew that taking that 2 minutes would mean I would get maybe double the gold that drops, suddenly it becomes viable. And so I think a switch like that gives you a stacking, and I forgot to mention this part in this idea, for every consecutive hour of active gameplay, of non-AFK gameplay, that you spend with your flying turned off, you would get a debuff that increases the drop rate of certain things by 1% of its existing chance. So for the first hour, now I get 1% more gold, 1% more reputation, blah, 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 blah. 1% chance at the higher end items on a loot table. And that adds up over time. That to me would be a really good solution for why do we have to keep flying in the game? If people want it, they can have it. Great. If not, if you want to do the hard way, in an area where you already have flying, that buff gets applied. Do I think Blizzard would do something like this? Maybe. They surprised me with allied races. They could probably surprise me again. I would love it if they did something like this, because then I would feel like even though I'm taking longer to get places by going on the ground, I'm enjoying the game world more. And really, the main character of World of Warcraft is Azeroth itself. It's the planet. It's the game world. That's the main character of the whole story, because that's where everything happens. That's the central part that links everything else together is the planet itself. I would enjoy that more, and I would still be making up for the lost time in other ways. Instead of getting around from place to place quicker, I would simply have to do less of it to get the same result. And I think that would be a really good way to do things. So, let's see. Does it say on my map where those dudes spawn? It doesn't say anything. Maybe I need to update something. Where are those other little guys? I'm gonna fly there. Lazy. 5911. Okay, he's over here. So, going back to what we were talking about, we were big, bad, amazing superhero guys, and now we're going back to being kind of normal guys, it seems. And I really like that, because that's one of the things I missed, like we talked about, where the scale of the story got too large, as you said. And I really hope we go back to just being kind of a normal dude, because then I felt like things that I did mattered, had context, and I wasn't just saving the whole big bad world all the time. Oh look, there he is. Boom, boom, boom. But in the process of doing that, of toning things down a little bit, there's some pain to be had. And that pain comes from losing things. I'm going to talk about the 5 stages of grief, specifically grief associated with loss. You've heard this before. Everybody's heard this before. Let's see, what's the next one? 5479. All right, let's go to that one. You have denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And so I'm going to use an example. I don't know if this will happen, but there's a lot of artifact abilities with our artifact weapons. The one for balance is really great. You saw how I dropped that moon on that thing's head. Oh boy, I love that. And not only that, but it makes the whole priority system and rotation for balance feel so good to have the moon spells in there. I don't want to lose those. And when I think about it, I think, oh, Blizzard wouldn't take it out. It works so well. There's the denial. And then if I think about, well, they might take it out. Well, I don't like that. And there's the anger, because I don't like that. I want to keep it, because I feel like I'm losing something if I don't. And then we go to bargaining. Well, maybe they'll just make it a new ability, or maybe they'll buff the amount of astral power that you get from other abilities to kind of make the rotation feel the same. I don't know. There's the bargaining. And then finally, I just realized that if they announce that it's going to happen, that I'm going to lose that, then I simply have to I have to deal with it. And it makes me sad, and so then I just have to accept it. That's the only thing left to do. And that's how it works. And so there's people preemptively going through some of those stages because they don't know if their stuff is going away or not. But it could. And sometimes the possibility of something happening is worse than the thing itself. I did not get any of those pets. And so it's scary. It's uncomfortable because we want to keep the things that we have, but we're going to need to lose some of them. We're going to throw our artifact weapons away to do something. I won't spoil that part because that's not happened yet. But stuff's going to happen, and we're going to have to get a little less amazing, a little less epic to change in the right way to get back to where we were, to feel like not everything is just so blown out of proportion. And that's painful. And it's hard to get people on board with that. And so I think the way that Blizzard seems to be going about it is to sort of misdirect us with the idea of Battle for Azeroth. Because really, the next expansion's not about that. I said it was about saving the planet. It's about saving the planet from the void, saving it from the old gods. It's an old gods expansion. That's what the next expansion is. It's an old gods expansion. It is not a Horde versus Alliance expansion. That's simply something that happens in it. That's something that is it's like the catalyst to further the old gods-iness of the expansion. And so, yeah, like Ken Baum guy is saying, they balance the whole expansion around the artifact abilities, and they could bake them into the classes, and in some cases they are, or they're making them talents, but I still feel like some classes are going to really miss the abilities they had. Some of them I'm not going to miss. Let's see, let's go here. Claws of Ursoc. Rage of the Sleeper. I will miss that because it allowed me a lot of survivability and more damage. But it wouldn't be hard to just increase bear survivability baseline. So, okay, it's one less button to worry about pushing. Don't really care. I could take it or leave it. I'm fine with that one. This one, Fangs of Ashamain. Ashamain's Frenzy. Honestly, I hope that one doesn't stay, and here's why. It's just more damage. And I forget to push the button all the time. It's just another button I've got to worry about, and I forget about it. Cat form has enough buttons as it is. I don't need the extra ones. Essence of Gainer. I know they pronounce this somehow differently, but looks like Gainer, and that's funny. So, Essence of Gainer, another one. Completely forget about it. Increases the effects of my other healing spells. See, I just don't even remember what that does. I'm not going to look at it. Anyway, I forget all about it. I thought it extended the duration of my hots or something like that. I don't heal very well. So, yeah, some of them, I want to keep the moons. And Rage of the Sleeper, Bear's got enough buttons to push. The more I think about it, the more I don't really need it. But I think about some of the other classes out there saying, well, man, Apocalypse for Unholy Death Knights, most of the Death Knights that I've talked to say they really don't want to lose that because it's a really cool ability, and I've seen it, and it is a cool ability. So some of them need to stick around as talents. Some of them just need to be a baseline ability for the class. Yeah, zombie button, more zombies. And with that glyph that makes all the zombies different, that's really cool. But it's not like the game can't be balanced, and that's where it gets crazy, is people think, well, I'm not going to be as powerful, so my class is going to be nerfed. Irrelevant. Entirely, completely irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything to think about how powerful your class is going to be. They could tune that all up and down without changing any abilities at all. It's about the gameplay. And if things get too complex, they need to change it. If you look at Mists of Pandaria, some people say, well, Mists of Pandaria was the golden age of how classes were. I really disagree. Classes were really problematic in Mists of Pandaria for one simple reason. Everyone could do everything. Nobody felt special. It was just, what's the animation for you doing this? What's the spell effect for your ability? Your ability does the same thing mine does. It has a different name and looks a little different, with a few exceptions. And so I think the pruning was good to get rid of that. However, they took away stuff they should never have taken away. Some dumb little things like Eyes of the Beast. Why? What was the purpose in losing that? Removing that didn't solve anything. Yeah, it was the most buggy ability in the game because it allowed people to glitch things really bad, but they kept on fixing that stuff. It's not a big deal. Taking away flavor abilities was a mistake, but reducing the width of everybody's reach in what their class was capable of doing was a good thing. Because I don't think that all 3 rogue specs should be amazing at AoE. I think one of them should be amazing at AoE. One of them should be okay at it. One of them should probably suck at it. Well, Blizzard and Fun, pick one. Sort of. They've gotten better about that, and I'll get into that in a minute. In fact, I'll probably wrap up this stream with my feelings on that, because I need to do that pretty soon. But the Fun abilities, they give a class flavor, and that's important. But the function of like AoE or strong single target DPS or having cleave, those are things that really define the way a class works. And so let's say that outlaw or combat, whatever, rogues, let's say those get cleave because of Blade Flurry that gives them a lot of cleave. That's the cleave spec. That one can do really great DPS to 2 or 3 targets. But when you get more than that, you still have to do 2 or 3 at a time. You can't AoE very strong. And then let's say a different spec has really strong AoE. Their Fan of Knives hits harder. They've got another AoE that goes along with it that really helps. Or they're the one that has Fan of Knives. And then finally, you've got another spec, probably Subtlety if I had to pick one, and that's the one that is just single target goodness and does not have very much AoE or cleave at all. But it can pull more single target DPS than the other 2 can. And so you're giving, and it doesn't need to be a big margin, 5 or 10% if they're all perfectly executed and equally geared, But that gives each of those specs something special to do. It's like Frost. Frost is the CC spec for mages, and it's the one that has control. And so even though it may not pull the same DPS numbers, it has the ability to lock down things in a way that even in a raid situation can be very useful. And so that gives it its semblance. You don't always bring the player, not the class, doesn't necessarily mean bring the same DPS no matter what the player is playing. It means bring somebody who knows how to use the tools that they are given. Frost mages, it would be cool if some things like Frost Nova had a little more place in raids. What if Frost Nova also made the targets vulnerable to AoE damage for a little while, and so you lock stuff in place and then everyone hits it with their AoE, and that helps? Or what if they had some short-term CC that they could apply to a really dangerous mob that shows up in a raid, and it makes it so the tank doesn't have to worry about it, or whatever. I mean, I think you get the point of what I'm saying, is that there's ways for classes to be useful that isn't just DPS. So in the process of doing that, we have to lose things. We have to take those hits, and it hurts. It's difficult to have things taken away in almost any context unless you don't care about those things. And so taking away the fun stuff, when we say Blizzard or Fun, it's not always mutually exclusive, and it's a popular thing to say that it is. But I think that Blizzard goes too far in removing fun sometimes. But there's most of the cases I can think about, they come back around and they make it okay. But no one ever talks about those. No one talks about the times that Blizzard made up for it. They just talk about the times where they didn't. Like the stackable stag. And again, this is like going back to what I said about The Last Jedi. This is me choosing to look on the bright side because it makes my life better. It makes me enjoy things more. Instead, I can think, well, gosh, Blizzard nerfed this whatever thing that I used to do. Like, if you look at one of my, I think it's the second video I ever made, I showed how you could use the Orb of the Cinder Eye and the Transmorphic Tincture to turn yourself into a Blood Elf chick if you wanted to do that for whatever reason. But then Blizzard nerfed that. The Transmorphic Tincture is removed when another appearance transformation is put onto your character. And so it doesn't force the different gender. It used to, but it doesn't now. Why did they change that? I have no idea. Probably to prevent people from using some sort of crazy exploit that nobody ever found out about. Usually that's the reason stuff like that is changed, is to just prevent people from cheating. And so I could have gotten all upset about that, but there's a workaround. There's another way to do it. In fact, I'll show you right now. Here's what you do. If that doesn't work for you, and it won't, because it doesn't work anymore, you use Kalitha's Haunted Locket. This is one of the best transform items in the game because its cooldown is equal to its duration. And that turns you into a Night Elf chick. And then it's really easy to figure out what to do next, because all you need to do is... Where did it go? JKLMN... No... Yeah, it moved. Then you use the Order of the Cinder Eye. Oh, look at that. Blood Elf chick. See, you can still do it, but you're ghostly. And if you remove the ghostliness, you're not ghostly anymore. How about that? Pretty nice, isn't it? So there's a workaround. The stackable stag was a workaround that Blizzard went out of their way to give people because they were having so much fun stacking the stags up. It's not quite the same, but it's all right. It's close enough. And so my point is, if you look on the bright side, your life is brighter. And that's really all there is to it. It's a choice, and you make the choice over and over again every day. Are you going to choose to be happy about it, or are you going to choose to be unhappy about it? You can't change what happens to you. You can't change what other people do, but you can change what you do about it. So there we go. That's enough preaching about that for now. But back to our characters becoming less of a overpowered monstrosity of things. Oh boy, that was cool, that spin like that. See, that's why we need the flip. I hope Zandalari trolls get some kind of cool jump, but I know they won't. Although I don't think they have a jump animation yet. I'm not sure. If they do, it's boring, because I didn't notice it. Alright, Hulan. Let's get some Hulan, and let's go make it nighttime. Real nighttime. If that's too dark for you to even see what's going on, then say something in the chat. Otherwise, I think it's beautiful. And we've got this here. That's important. So we're not going to be that big of a deal anymore, and I think that's great because it's going back to some of the roots of World of Warcraft, which is what I think they're trying to do with the Horde and Alliance theme kind of plastered over the Old Gods expansion, and with the removal of some of our big, powerful epicness. And they are talking about bringing back some of the fun stuff that people enjoyed, like class buffs. Turns out that even though it was a nuisance to cast them sometimes, people like them. And so they're bringing them back. Fantastic. I hope they go more in a direction like that. A perfect example of what I'm talking about is this ability that druids fortunately still have. It was a glyph before, and then they changed how glyphs work, and then the glyphs work, and they made it a book that you can learn. Charm Woodland Creature. This is basically mind slavery for small animals, because he's my friend now, whether he likes it or not. And look at that. See those little wisps around him? What other effect in the game have you seen that causes wisps like that? It's usually kind of like dark, shadowy mind control stuff. So, I mean, that tells you right there what this is. This is not like Snow White or Fluttershy attracting the animals or whatever. This is straight up like kind of rapey how this is going. So don't think that this moth likes me right now. I'm basically a Gould for this moth, only I'm standing over here. And I hope they bring in more of those things back, because that's what makes your class fun, is the silly little abilities that don't seem to do anything. They could maybe even give those abilities some sort of different designation of what they're called. Maybe they could call them tricks instead of abilities, even though they would be listed by your abilities or something. Anyway, going in circles here with this. I'm glad that they're doing that, and they're getting the classes back to individuality. And I think that the removal of functional abilities to make the specs feel different is a good thing. It's like Balance has a decent amount of AoE, and I think that's great. I don't think that Cat needs as much AoE as it has. If I switch over to Cat form, and I look at the abilities that I have, it seems kind of weird to me. I think that they could remove swipe. It's in here somewhere. I don't think swipe needs to be a thing. Thrash is enough, and honestly, I'm not 100% sure cats actually need thrash. Or if it does, it doesn't need to be very big, because cat should be a single target spec. That's what I think anyway. It's like Resto Druids having a lot of direct healing spells. Right? John Madden Cat Druid, boy, I remember that. Resto Druids have a lot of heal over times, but they've gotten more and more direct healing spells as time goes on. They've got... Regrowth is sort of a hybrid. That's like the main Druid heal right now. And you've got Healing Touch, and I think then you've got Swift Mend. I think that Swift Mend should be it. That's the only direct heal that Druids need. Everything else should be some sort of heal over time thing, because that's what they do. And that's what makes them special. The only thing is, like, Swift Mend, it used to not even just be a specific heal. It used to just finish the heal over time instantly. That was really cool, and it made the healing specs all feel different. And that's what made a Holy Priest special, is because it was the only class with 2 healing specs, and that was the one spec that had all the different varieties of healing built into one. And it felt special. And so when you were a Holy Priest, or when you brought a Holy Priest into your raid, it felt special because here's a character, here's a spec that can do something that other specs can't. And so I want this spec because it's special. And I want this player because they know how to take advantage of that. They know how to maximize the usefulness of what makes that spec special. So bring the player, not the class, is about bringing a skilled player. And I don't think it's simply about making every class do everything, which is where it eventually ended up in Mists of Pandaria. And so I think we're getting to a nice place with that. It is awfully dark. I'm looking over on the stream. So let's turn it to... I mean, the Timeless Isle, it could be any time of day. It's like always morning, I guess. It looks like morning. Whatever. Where's the sun? You don't see the sun. I don't think. If it's east or west, then we'll know. But anyway, one more thing I want to talk about with Blizzard and fun. I want to talk about what I think is the best thing to happen to World of Warcraft in a very long time. I can't really say since when specifically because I'm not sure. But it is a guy by the name of Ian Hazzikostas. And let me tell you why that's so good. If you look on YouTube, you can find a video of Ian Hazzikostas doing a guide, just a regular YouTube World of Warcraft guide, on how to get the Zul-Aman bear mount from Burning Crusade, from 10-man Zul-Aman. I guess it was only 10-man. He was doing a video. He was just a player. He was just a regular guy with a guild, and they would do the bear mount runs. And that's the first anyone ever heard of him, is that guide on how to do the bear mount. And eventually this guy gets hired by Blizzard, and long story short, now he is game director. And he became game director right around when Legion came out, if I remember right. But that's not a position someone's just popped up to immediately. That's a position that takes planning. And so he would have been in the talks and had influence. He was a lead game designer for a long time, right around the time that Warlords of Draenor got weird. Right around the time when the movie got delayed and everything. Remember I talked about that, how everything just kind of got strange and it didn't work out the way they thought it would, and so they changed direction. They decided, we're going to redouble efforts, we're going to stop development on Titan, and we're going to redouble our efforts into World of Warcraft because we've already got a great MMO. Why are we trying to make another one? And that was right around the time when it's pretty easy to deduce that he would have started taking more of a front seat leadership role in World of Warcraft's development team. And since then, we've had 77-day patch cycle reliably. We've had what will end up being one of the shortest content droughts in ever, and we've had consistently good feature-packed patches throughout the entire expansion, and we've had what has been the best expansion World of Warcraft has had in quite a while. Mists of Pandaria, people say that it's better because I remember when Warlords of Draenor was coming out, people were dogging Mists of Pandaria big time. And so I think that Legion is the best the game has been since Wrath of the Lich King. Personal, but I think that there's a lot of believability to that. So that all coincides with Ian Hazzikostas becoming game director, and it seems to me that he's doing a really good job. And the choices that he's making are really nice. If you want to prove it to yourself, go watch some of the dev Q&As that he's done with Lore and the questions they answer. They don't cherry pick the easy questions on there. They answer the hard ones, and even sometimes he has to do an awkward answer because there really isn't a nice one, and he explains why they make the choices they do. It sounds like I'm fanboying this guy a lot, because I really am, because I think that he's the best thing to happen to World of Warcraft in a very long time. And if this is the direction it's going, what we've seen with Legion, the future is very bright, and I'm very excited about Battle for Azeroth, because it's simply more of these good decisions and more of these intelligent changes and well thought out design that I really hope we see more of. Anyway, there's a lot more to go over with Battle for Azeroth. I got through like 3 bullet points that I wanted to out of like 12. So I'm going to wrap this up now. Next time I'll be talking about more of this, because there's a bunch of stuff to go on. The changes to gears, the changes to the Heart of Azeroth, how that's coming in, and the war fronts, the new continents, and the story with Horde and Alliance and the things that we've seen so far. All of that, there's a bunch of things to talk about, and the island expeditions, that's another interesting one to go over. So anyway, thanks everybody for showing up and for listening, and for those of you that talked in the chat, I appreciate it very much. It is time for me to go to bed, and I hope you all sleep well and have a wonderful night or morning or whatever it is. I mean, what do I know? You guys could be over in Australia or something, and it's probably, I don't know what time it is there, but it's not the time it is here. So I've rambled enough, and the song's about to end. So, okay, thanks, bye.